Joining us on Loudwire Nights for the first time is Matt Shultz, frontman for the Grammy-winning band Cage the Elephant, who are releasing their fifth studio album, Social Cues, April 19th, which is Good Friday, the start of Passover, and then Easter a few days later. So was that an intentional thing?
Really? I didn't even know. That's pretty cool. That's wild. No, that was not intentional.
All right. I know you grew up in a pretty religious household, so I had to ask. And here's the part where I totally out myself as a crazy person, because I may be reading way too much into this, but social clues include facial expressions, body language, vocal inflection, right? We use them to determine what people feel as opposed to what they're saying. So I'm wondering, the band keeps using the same 3 emojis when talking about the new album. And I wonder if that has anything to do with like a message that social cues are getting affected by technology. Or do I need a hobby? You could tell me, Matt.
Social cues. Yes, we are part of the Illuminati. No, I'm joking. No, we're not. Geez, that probably just got me killed a couple of years down the line. For ourselves, it's kind of like a social commentary on the fact that we're all hyper paranoid about our micro actions socially and publicly. And I think that you could probably attribute a lot of the heightened anxiety and depression, and the suicide rate is higher than ever, and extreme amount of stress, and almost like this unspoken legalism that's hard to put your finger on where it's coming from, not necessarily dictated by the individual or by the body at large, but yeah, it's really interesting stuff to think about.
All right. My emoji theory officially debunked. All right. That's cool. That's fine. We've been playing the first single, Ready to Let Go, often here on Loudwire Nights. Congratulations. The song currently sitting at #1 on the alternative rock song chart. Got there faster than any other song in the band's history. So if we could talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the track.
Yeah, that song, I was actually in Pompeii when I wrote it, visiting the ruins and all the people that had been cast almost like statues. And I just remember it was at that point in life, things were pretty turbulent. My cousin had passed away, who was like a best friend growing up. An actual best friend passed away. 2 really close friends had committed suicide. And then my relationship was on the rocks. And so it was I remember looking at those people, at the cast of people, and thinking, wow, I can really relate to that. I feel kind of frozen. And yeah, that's where the whole song started.
Do you think the best art gets created during the toughest of times?
Not necessarily. I think just the more honest of times. Sometimes there's really all these different emotional moments in life, and some are like a roller coaster, right? That's kind of like fast food of happiness. And then there's the time at like a funeral when your father takes your hands. That's where the real good stuff is. And at the time, it doesn't seem joyful, but 20 years down the road, it's probably what you're going to look back on. So.
Aware that you directed the video for that song, and we're all wondering, were you watching a lot of American Horror Story at the time? Because kind of showing up on that a little.
No, I think that just the truth is scary as hell.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe that's what's coming across. No, I always try to lean into things that are symbolic of nature. Blood being a very symbolic thing throughout history. I think the things you think about are like betrayal, murder, redemption, forgiveness, love, hate. I mean, it evokes all these different actions and words. And anyway, so that was something that I was really leaning into symbolism. And sometimes I think when you bring to light some pretty heavy truths, it's pretty scary. I'm glad it came across that way.
Mission accomplished. All done while wearing, spandex and looking very fit, by the way. Are you like a workout freak vegetarian? Because you are.
No. I like to do a lot of these intensive studies just whenever there's time. And I've been doing an intensive on a particular form of Japanese dance called Buto. And it's really physically demanding. So it keeps the six pack.
Definitely, dude. Looking tight. The second song we've heard off the upcoming record, Social Cues, is House of Glass, which just sounds like the words of somebody who's completely disconnected, just going through the motions of life. Like, how close am I?
Yeah, that's right on. I think that at that point in life, I was very much in this cycle of exposing myself to things that, an overexposure to things that probably weren't good for me. As a coping mechanism, and then the reverse side of that, which is the same root but a different manifestation, which was extreme isolation as some kind of like protective mechanism, both being kind of protective mechanisms. And when you get locked in that cycle, it can be pretty psychotic and feel like you're just going through the motions. That was kind of what I was going through when I wrote that.
Are you still in that space, or was that just kind of like a moment in time?
Hold on a second. Let me lay back on the therapy couch. No. Things are, it's a different season for sure.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Track 4, Night Running, features Beck. Aware you also worked with Beck's father, David Campbell, who's a famed arranger, conductor, and composer. How did all of this come together? Do you have a history with the family?
We were on a couple bills that Beck was on as well, and got invited back to meet him. Had a brief but really lovely hang. And then Beck was on tour and came through Nashville. And I went to the show and snuck backstage. No, after the show, went backstage and hung out again and had a good hang. And then when we were making the record, I don't know if it was because we had been a little time with Beck or what it was, but we were finishing Night Running and had most of the track done. The choruses were feeling really, really nice, but I just couldn't find the approach to the verse. And Brad had just had it in his mind that somehow that Beck would have the answer for us. So he sent the song off to him actually in secret. None of the rest of the band knew. And then all of a sudden I get like a text message like, hey, here's something that Beck did on the song. I'm like, what? And listen to it. I'm like, wow, this is sick.
So cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of Beck, he's going to be joining your band, Cage the Elephant and Spoon, on the road Night Running tour, announced the day after he took home the Grammy. So talk about striking while the iron is hot. Sunflower Bean, Starcrawler, and Wild Bell joining on select dates. That sounds like a lot of people, definitely a different feel from the standard, supporting band, mandatory, spontaneous encore, the end. You guys are going for a different feel, obviously.
I think that we just wanted to have things that were compelling to ourselves on the tour, things that we would want to see. And the tour kind of came to life because we were looking for a space to perform the song that we'd done, Night Running, and then just wanted to tour with acts that we were really into.
It was just announced that Cage the Elephant will be performing at Woodstock 50. What do you think of the lineup? The original, remembered as the festival that defined a generation. Do you think that impact could be replicated or will be replicated?
I haven't got I haven't had the chance to really spend time with the lineup yet, but we're certainly really excited and flattered to be on it. I hope it is. I really do hope that it is one of those monumental moments.
Okay, this will be our last question here. You guys are playing the Bataclan June 20th in Paris, France. That's the venue where a terrorist attack occurred in 2015 while Eagles of Death Metal were performing. I don't know if you know this. Banksy just did a mural there late last year, and last month somebody literally removed the door the artwork was painted on and stole it, which, I don't know, it just sounds like a lot. Have you ever gone into a historic venue and kind of picked up on its energy where it's like affected your performance?
Not a lot, to be honest. It's usually the audience that brings the energy to life. Although there have been some venues that have a legacy for certain that have surprised me with that, because I don't go into it thinking that, but there's definitely been some places. Lollapalooza always brings that out of us for some reason, and then We played the Ryman Auditorium, and that definitely did. Red Rocks, the Gorge. I'm just off the top of my head trying to think of different places. But anyways, yes, sometimes that happens. It usually isn't something you think about ahead of time.
All right, well, cool. Matt, that's pretty much it for me. Matt Shultz, frontman for Cage the Elephant. Thank you for your time. Social Cues out April 19th.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate you, man. Bye.